As it happened, you guys, a well-known local restaurant, Primanti Brothers in North Versailles, Pennsylvania, east of Pittsburgh, refused to admit Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, where he was supposed to speak. So he instead had to address supporters in the parking lot. But wow, the man was such a class act about it. Watch this clip of how J.D. Vance's masterclass went down in Primanti Brothers.
It's a riot. The manager went outside, told them they need to leave. They will call the police if he comes south. Unfortunately, he cannot come in. So what's going to happen is that they're going to take down our name, all our information, so the next time the kitchen crew's running out because everyone's canceling their orders. Everyone just canceled all the orders, and we're just paying for what we drink, and then everyone's leaving. But yes, unfortunately, Vance cannot come out of his car, cannot shake our hands, because Primanti Brothers does not want him in here whatsoever. So that is what's happening.
That we leave.
Yep.
We are now banned from Primanti Brothers.
Yep. Terrible. So there's the VP. This is as close as we're going to get to him.
And we'll call
Outside of the parking lot, we're taking names and phone numbers of everybody who's in it. Absolutely. That is everybody waiting there first.
Walk down to the end of the sidewalk?
Yep.
We paid for everybody's food. We gave him a nice tip. And of course, when I gave him a nice tip, I said, no taxes on tip. So, it's all right. Don't hold it against her. She just got a little nervous, but it's a great local business. Let's keep on supporting it. And most importantly, November 5th or before, go vote. Let's go win this thing.
All right, so first off, they own the sidewalk? I mean, can't come out of his car? That's just outright fascist, if you ask me, guys. This after Kamala Harris made a full-blown campaign stop at the same restaurant just a few weeks back. So I guess this makes Primanti Brothers another place to avoid at all costs, right, guys? I mean, just think about it. If you were Tim Walz or Kamala Harris being denied service, you know the mainstream media, or the lame street media, as many people call it, would have a hissy fit, right? But again, the Republican vice presidential candidate took the whole thing like a champ. He was forced to address supporters in a parking lot after the Pennsylvania restaurant denied his entry because they did not want to host a campaign event. But man, he wasn't even fazed at all, guys. He even still paid for everybody's meals.
I don't think they paid for their food, though, so we'll cover it.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Thank you.
And keep the change. I'm sure there's going to be a fair amount in there. And, you know, no taxes on tips. That's one of the things we're trying to hammer.
Yeah, we're rooting for that. All right.
That's right. Good.
All right.
Good. Ma'am.
Thank you.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you very much, and I
Of course,
appreciate
thank you.
the thoughts.
Okay, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Bye, guys. Thank you all for your help. See you guys. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Like I said, guys, such a class act all the way, J.D. Vance. So here's what happened according to J.D. Vance's campaign source. When Senator J.D. Vance stopped by Primanti Brothers restaurant and bar in North Versailles, Pennsylvania on Saturday, their planned visit to excited supporters was cut short when they were promptly kicked out by employees, even though they confirmed that Primanti Brothers management was aware that the Trump-Vance campaign was planning on stopping by. Now, I'm telling you guys, this whole thing just exploded and it went viral on the internet. Videos posted of social media showing that the restaurant was filled with customers waiting for J.D. Vance to arrive, who proceeded to cancel their orders and leave when he was refused entry. Talk about support, right? Now, apparently an employee told the campaign that this was not a campaign stop and that JD's not allowed in. The manager even threatened to call the police if they didn't leave. All the Trump-Vance supporters could do was boo the employees as they themselves were ushered to the exit. Now, let's go ahead and compare that to how the Harris-Walz campaign was treated just a month earlier when they visited a Primanti Brothers location in Moon Township, Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris's campaign made a stop at the Primanti Brother location on August 18th. Locals didn't like it as they were kicked out of the restaurant. They were told that the restaurant was closing early for a private event. The private event? Oh, of course, it was the arrival of Harris's campaign entourage, with videos from inside the event showing Kamala Harris and second gentleman Douglas Emhoff greeting patrons. But wait a minute, I thought they kicked out the patrons. Well, outside the Harris campaign stop, kicked out patrons and Donald Trump supporters protested the event. Others verbally accused the campaign of employing actors, as video from ABC News showed a full dining room with people enjoying their food. A guy was shouting outside, "All these actors in these vans." What can I say, guys? Truly a tale of two campaigns. But we make do, right? Despite the Vance campaign being kicked out of the local establishment, the senator was all smiles when he met with supporters outside the restaurant. Photos from the impromptu outside event showed JD Vance greeting excited patrons. JD Vance even told the crowd to not take it against the Primanti brothers. Wow. He said that the workers just got a little bit nervous, but it's a great local business. So let's keep on supporting it. Wow, this guy's got an enormous level of character, I'll tell you that. In a statement on social media, Primanti's wrote that JD Vance's visit was a surprise and that they were not given advance notice. They said that Primanti's prides itself on being a staple of the Pittsburgh community and a proud American business that has hosted sitting presidents, politicians, and political candidates from across the spectrum for over 90 years. Our doors are open to all patrons who wish to dine with us. They said that without advance notice, today's campaign stop caused some momentary confusion for our staff. However, Senator JD Vance and his team were welcomed to our restaurant shortly after and engaged with our guests inside and on the property. Senator JD Vance's supportive comment that our manager got a little nervous given the Secret Service, police, and crowd accurately reflected the nature of what occurred, and we're glad that it was resolved quickly. Now, I looked up the restaurant for you guys. It said 44 locations across Pennsylvania. Now, you would think that being around so long and having so many locations that they would be used to this kind of event, but nope. Instead, they chose to lose a lot of paying customers. Let me tell you guys, Primanti brothers may not stay at 44 locations for long, if you know what I mean. Hit the like button and drop a quick yes in the comments down below to show your support for the Trump JD Vance campaign. And while you guys are at it, make sure you are still subscribed to the channel, turn on notifications as well. That way you guys won't miss out on any new hard-hitting content like this one. And hey, we're not done here yet, guys. So let's get right back to it. All right, so despite JD Vance having to be the bigger man about being kicked out of the Pittsburgh restaurant, many conservative commentators picked up the case and they let their disappointment be known. So Donald Trump supporting X account MJ Truth Ultra called for a boycott of the restaurant for the treatment of the Ohio senator. They wrote, "Breaking, Primanti Brothers restaurant in Pittsburgh, PA refused to let JD Vance in to greet his supporters. Boycott them. Share everywhere. All their supporters paid for their drinks, but canceled their food en masse. Go woke, go broke." Another X-user, Greek KM117, also called for a boycott of the restaurant. They said that the supporters paid for their drinks, canceled their orders, and left. All patriots in Pittsburgh, stop supporting this establishment. The post already reached 150,000 views last I checked. But man, the way that JD Vance handled that situation, you know he's just raring to go for that vice presidential debate in a few days. In fact, he's even said that he doesn't have to prepare that much for the debate against Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Well, the reason? Well, because they already have a very well-developed view on public policy. To compare, the New York Times has reported Walz joined a multi-day debate camp in rural Michigan to prep for the CBS News hosted showdown against Vance in New York. But according to Senator Vance, they're not planning to do anything similar. Instead, he said what they're going to focus on is a concise and direct and appeal to the American people as much as possible about Donald Trump's successful policies and Kamala Harris's failed policies, especially since her record is one of unaffordable groceries, unaffordable housing, and Americans who are losing their jobs, according to the senator. Now, like JD Vance pointed out, they don't have to hide their record from the American people. They just have to talk about it. So JD Vance is participating in mock debates, though. Standing in for Walz in these mock debates is Representative Tom Emmer, the House Majority Whip and Walz fellow Minnesotan, someone who can help prepare Vance for what they're calling the Democrats' folksy approach. And according to Emmer, the hardest part about playing Walz, it's trying to tell lies with a straight face, because that's what he does. He's good at the debate game, but there isn't substance there. There's a whole lot of air, and it's hot. He also called the Minnesota governor a fraud. He said Walz was playing the character of a greater Minnesotan, ag-friendly outdoorsman who really cared about people. Since then, he's made it very clear to people in greater Minnesota that he has very little interest in them. He also said that it doesn't get reported enough, but under Walz, Minnesota's taxes have skyrocketed. Violent crime is up all over, and our communities are worse off. So, for Emmer, no amount of Minnesota nice is going to make up for Tim Walz's failed policy record. Lastly, Emmer claimed that Walz is an empty suit who has worked to turn Minnesota into Harris's home state of California. For him, Walz is Gavin Newsom wearing a flannel shirt. Definitely something to look forward to, guys. Vance destroying Walz in his vice presidential debate. Experts are already talking about the indirect impact that can't be completely discounted in a very close race. Christopher DeWine, author of Do Running Mates Matter? The Influence of Vice Presidential Candidates in Political Elections, said the running mate does have what they call an indirect effect on vote choice in that it influences what people think of the presidential candidate. Knowing that Donald Trump could have very well picked anybody, and to choose JD Vance or that Kamala Harris could have picked anyone and ultimately chose Tim Walz, and how they perform on the debate stage. TV Troy, a presidential historian and a former George W. Bush cabinet member, is already predicting that this year might be different because of the whole Harris-Walz hide the ball campaign, where she didn't run for the nomination, so she was scrutinized. Then she's been very reluctant to have any unscripted interviews since then, and when she does, it's usually a very friendly reporter, and even in the debate against Donald Trump, there's a perception that the moderators were harder on him than they were on her. Translation, this vice presidential debate could be the final thing that unravels the whole Harris-Walz campaign.
Right.
So wait a minute. What did you say inflation was when Biden took over?
I said inflation was up at high at 9%. It's now down to 3.2%.
No. When he took over from Trump, it was 1.4%.
Yeah, and there was also there's also
I want to
$8
make sure,
trillion
because
in debt,
Biden
though.
says it was at 9%, and I don't want you to get confused with his
debunked.
His false talking points.
But
We want to start on an issue that Americans across the country say is their number one concern, and that's the economy. A question that has been asked of you and everybody that's on the Democratic side is whether or not voters are better off now than they were 4 years ago. Are they better off now than they were 4 years ago?
So when we came into, well, first of all, let me just say it is good to be with the National Association of Black Journalists, and I thank you for the work you do and that your members do every day. It is very important that we ensure that this organization and your members always have the resources and the platforms to deliver the voices that must be heard. So I thank you for hosting me today. 4 years ago, when we came in during the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. We came in during the worst public health epidemic in centuries. We came in after the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And a lot of it due in large part to the mismanagement by the former president as it relates to COVID and obviously January 6th. And we had then a lot of work to do to clean up a mess. As of today, we have created over 16 million new jobs, over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. We have the lowest Black unemployment rate in generations. We have invested in small businesses, and they're to the benefit of many people, but including Black small businesses, some of the highest rate of creation of new Black small businesses in years.
So is that a yes or a no? Now, let me put it this way here, guys. Here's the tale of the tape. We have two presidential candidates that are good at dodging. One dodges bullets while the other one dodges questions. And since we all know that the Vice President Kamala Harris goes crazy over Venn diagrams, here's one that I got from X that shows how similar she is to Donald Trump. And Kamala Harris's interview with the NABJ is vastly different from what Trump had to endure. The very first question was an attack on Trump, and yet he showed up. Harris was also invited that same day, but rejected the chance to meet with the former president. And Harris touts within this interview that she'll be better for not just the Black community, but for America as a whole. Many don't believe her nonsense, and she was just kind of confronted about it here in this interview.
But polling shows that some Black men, particularly young Black men, are considering voting for Donald Trump, and they see him as better for the economy. What is your message to young Black male voters who feel left out of this economy, and how can your economic policies materially change their lives?
So I appreciate the spirit of the question, but I'll tell you, I've often been asked this question in a way that I've had to respond by first saying that I think it's very important to not operate from the assumption that Black men are in anybody's pocket. Black men are like any other voting group. You got to earn their vote. So I'm working to earn the vote. not assuming I'm going to have it because I am Black, but because the policies and the perspectives I have understands what we must do to recognize the needs of all communities. And I intend to be a president for all people.
I don't think anybody said that Black men were in anyone's pocket. Am I missing something here, or is she the one that's actually pushing for that narrative? And with no further presidential debates in the works before November, the running mates will likely be making the final head-to-head case to voters for their respective campaigns. Definitely one to watch, you guys. And you know we're gonna be there every minute of it, right? So what do you guys think? Should we do a live watching together on the channel for that upcoming debate? Drop a quick comment, yes or no, in the comments down below, guys. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications so you do not miss it whenever we go live. I'm already looking forward to our next one, to be honest with you. And while you guys are waiting on that one, you can also check out my other videos on the channel. Just click on the channel, click on the videos tab or the live tab. I highly recommend our recent video where we dove into Kamala Harris's post-debate and how she's losing the support of even Democrats like Joe Manchin. For real, guys, you gotta check that video out next. I'll drop a link down below. But as always, I'm not gonna keep you guys long. I just wanna say thanks for watching. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. I'll see y'all next time.